When Lisa and Mark locked eyes over a single parking spot, nobody could have predicted the chaos that would follow. What started as a petty scuffle quickly escalated into a series of shocking battles, leaving grocery aisles destroyed, cars dented, and shoppers in disbelief. This is the story of the top 7 parking lot battles, customer wars you wouldn't believe actually happened. The quiet suburban parking lot of Greenview Mall had always been a place of routine, where the most excitement anyone expected was a lost shopping cart rolling down the asphalt. But on a particularly sweltering summer afternoon, the air seemed to hum with tension, as if the lot itself anticipated trouble. 2 shoppers arrived at the same time, both heading toward the last empty parking space near the main entrance. At first, it was a simple race, a momentary clash of impatience, but the situation quickly spiraled beyond anything casual. Their vehicles edged closer, engines idling, and for a moment, everything froze. The shoppers, the cars, and even the distant sounds of the mall seemed to fade. The lot became a silent battlefield, a tension-filled pause before the inevitable storm. One of the drivers, a middle-aged man with a streak of aggression, had a history that foreshadowed disaster. He had been involved in multiple confrontations at local supermarkets and retail lots, his temper known to flare over the smallest inconvenience. The other, a younger woman with a reputation for daring stunts in public spaces, had been banned from several stores due to previous aggressive encounters. Neither seemed willing to back down, and their determination transformed what should have been a trivial dispute into a dangerous standoff. In seconds, frustration exploded into action. Shopping carts collided with a metallic clang, spilling groceries across the asphalt. Cans rolled under tires, paper bags split open, and cartons of eggs cracked, their contents running across the lot. Passers-by froze in shock, unsure whether to intervene or step back, while distant security cameras captured the unfolding chaos with unflinching clarity. The footage later revealed the intensity in each movement, each shove, each turn of the wheel, each deliberate block of the parking space. It became clear this was more than a simple dispute. It was a calculated test of dominance, a silent contest between 2 personalities who thrived on conflict. As the dust settled, both drivers stood outside their vehicles, surveying the wreckage with a mixture of anger and satisfaction. The mall's usual calm was shattered, and the incident quickly became the talk of the neighborhood. Social media buzzed with posts about the chaotic scene, though few knew the darker undercurrent. The battle had been only the beginning. Both drivers had histories, grudges, and an unspoken desire to assert superiority over the other. What seemed like a minor, almost comedic clash was, in reality, the opening salvo in a series of escalating confrontations that would turn ordinary parking lots into stages for a dangerous war of ego, strategy, and recklessness. The suburban parking lot would never feel ordinary again. Just a week after the explosive incident at Greenview Mall, the tension between the rival shoppers had only grown stronger. One of the participants, the younger woman with a reputation for daring and impulsive behavior, returned to the same mall, but this time she moved with purpose. The goal was no longer merely a chance encounter. It was a calculated act of retaliation. She had observed the previous clash, memorized every detail, and now seemed intent on making her presence impossible to ignore. The aisles of the supermarket, usually filled with the hum of casual browsing and soft music, became a tense arena as shoppers sensed the approaching storm without knowing its source. The confrontation began subtly, almost imperceptibly, with the accidental brushing of a cart against another. But the slightest collision ignited long-simmering anger, escalating into a chaotic scene within seconds. Shelves rattled as items tumbled to the floor, and alarms rang out, drawing the attention of the store's security team. The intensity of the struggle revealed something chilling. This was not a random accident. Every move seemed deliberate, every maneuver planned to provoke maximum disruption. Shoppers ducked behind displays, watching as carts collided with terrifying force, sending jars of sauces and fragile goods crashing onto the floor. The store's normally calm employees scrambled, attempting to intervene while avoiding direct confrontation with the combatants. Later analysis of surveillance footage revealed the deliberate nature of the act. The woman had returned intentionally, staking out the perfect moment to confront her rival. She had studied the layout of the store, timed her arrival for maximum impact, and appeared almost to anticipate every move of the opposing shopper. This was no longer a simple squabble over a parking spot. It had evolved into a personal vendetta, a battle of egos unfolding in public. The spectacle drew the attention of everyone in the vicinity, creating a sense of fear and fascination as people struggled to comprehend the intensity of such a seemingly trivial conflict. The aftermath left chaos in its wake. Spilled merchandise, broken containers, and scattered groceries littered the floor, while the mall's management and security personnel realized the severity of the situation. What had begun as a minor clash in a parking lot had escalated into a premeditated attack in a public space, highlighting a dangerous pattern of behavior. The feud was no longer confined to a single location or incident. It had become a calculated series of confrontations, each one more daring and destructive than the last. The quiet suburban mall, once a place of routine errands, had transformed into an unpredictable battlefield, signaling that the next clash would be even more dangerous and impossible to ignore. The rivalry had reached a boiling point by the weekend, and Northside Plaza, a busy shopping complex on the outskirts of the city, became the latest stage for the escalating feud. Both combatants arrived at nearly the same time, their eyes scanning the crowded lot with an intensity that made bystanders uneasy. Unlike previous incidents, this confrontation was no longer spontaneous. Each participant seemed to anticipate the other's every move, as if the parking lot itself had become a carefully mapped battlefield. Shoppers stopped mid-step, staring at the unfolding tension, sensing that what they were witnessing was far more dangerous than a simple dispute over a parking space. The clash began subtly, with a minor nudge of a car, but the intensity escalated rapidly. Vehicles swerved, tires screeched against asphalt, and the occasional collision sent carts and loose items tumbling across the lot. Witnesses described a scene that seemed almost choreographed. Both drivers were deliberate in their actions, moving with precision to block, provoke, and outmaneuver the other. At one point, a shopping cart was hurled across a row of vehicles, narrowly missing a bystander who froze in shock. The chaos drew attention from nearby stores, and security personnel rushed out, only to find themselves overwhelmed by the calculated ferocity of the duel. What made this incident particularly alarming was the hidden role of social media. Investigators later discovered that one of the combatants had shared a detailed map of the parking lot online, almost daring the rival to show up. The posts included cryptic references to winning the space and claiming the lot, suggesting that the feud had moved from physical confrontations to psychological warfare. Shoppers who were caught in the middle had no idea that their ordinary errands were colliding with a premeditated vendetta. The intensity and precision of the confrontation revealed a disturbing pattern. These encounters were no longer random acts of frustration, but carefully staged battles designed to humiliate and dominate. By the time local law enforcement arrived, the combatants had already disengaged, leaving behind a trail of damaged vehicles, scattered groceries, and bewildered witnesses. The authorities were stunned at the level of planning involved and the growing audacity of the participants. The parking lot, once a mundane space for everyday errands, had transformed into an arena of strategy, ego, and risk. It was clear to everyone watching that this feud would not end with a single clash. The battles had become larger, more dangerous, and impossible to ignore, setting the stage for an even more dramatic confrontation that would shake the city's shopping centers to their core. Just when it seemed the feud had reached its peak, a new element appeared, one that changed the nature of the conflict entirely. A mysterious figure began showing up at every major confrontation, blending into the crowd, yet always present. Unlike the rival shoppers, this individual did not engage in violence or aggression. Instead, they observed and recorded, moving with quiet precision, as if they were conducting a careful study of the chaos unfolding before them. At first, their presence went unnoticed by most shoppers, but the intensity of their focus gradually drew attention. The camera lens, hidden beneath a jacket or inside a bag, captured every collision, every reckless maneuver, and every furious gesture with uncanny detail. The motives of this observer remained unclear, adding a layer of suspense to each incident. Some speculated they were seeking viral fame, intending to post the footage online for likes and views. Others believed there was a more personal reason, perhaps revenge for a past slight involving one of the combatants. Regardless, their presence transformed the dynamics of the feud. The rival shoppers were now aware that every action was being documented, forcing them to escalate their tactics even further. Moves that might have been impulsive before became calculated, almost performative, as if the parking lots themselves had become stages for a dangerous public spectacle. This new element intensified the stakes. Every minor confrontation now carried the weight of exposure, humiliation, and potential legal consequences. Security personnel and store managers struggled to respond, realizing that the conflicts had grown beyond their control. Shoppers who witnessed the events were both horrified and captivated, unable to look away as grocery carts were hurled, vehicles collided, and chaos spread through the lots with frightening speed. The observers' recordings captured not just the actions but the underlying psychology of the feuding participants, revealing a mix of anger, pride, and competitive obsession that no one could have predicted. By documenting these events, the mysterious figure added a level of permanence to each clash, ensuring that the battles could not be easily forgotten or dismissed as isolated incidents. Each video, each recorded angle, served as evidence of the escalating feud and as a warning that the next confrontation would be even more dramatic. The parking lots, once mundane and unremarkable, had become arenas of suspense, strategy, and spectacle, where every movement was scrutinized and every misstep amplified. With this unseen observer silently recording, the feud had taken on a new, more dangerous life, setting the stage for a final showdown that promised to be more explosive and unpredictable than anyone could imagine. The feud reached its dramatic climax on a rainy evening at the city's largest shopping complex. The lot, usually bustling with weekend shoppers, was slick with rain, reflections of neon signs shimmering across puddles. Both rival parties arrived at nearly the same time, their movements deliberate and tense, as if they could sense the approaching storm. The air was thick with anticipation. Bystanders felt the unease in the atmosphere, an almost electric charge, signaling that this confrontation would surpass all previous battles. Security cameras from multiple angles captured the slow, deliberate maneuvers of each combatant, framing the parking lot as a stage for a final act of strategy, aggression, and unpredictability. The clash ignited almost immediately. Cars swerved dangerously, tires screeching against wet asphalt, and carts collided with frightening force. Groceries flew in every direction, containers shattered, and the chaos forced bystanders to take cover behind vehicles. This time, the battle had escalated to a level far beyond simple frustration or rivalry. The combatants moved with purpose, blocking exits, circling vehicles, and executing maneuvers that seemed almost choreographed, each action intended to dominate, humiliate, or provoke. Observers later noted that the intensity and precision of this confrontation were unprecedented. It was clear that the feud had evolved into a calculated game of power and control. Amid the chaos, the mysterious observer from previous incidents appeared once more, recording everything with quiet efficiency. Their presence added tension, pushing the rival shoppers to escalate further, knowing that every move would be scrutinized, replayed, and potentially broadcast to an audience beyond the immediate witnesses. The observer captured not only the destruction, but the subtle strategies, the hesitation and aggression, the silent communication between the combatants that drove the battle forward. Suddenly, one of the participants vanished amid the turmoil. Vehicles collided around them, groceries scattered, and for a brief, terrifying moment, no one could locate the missing rival. Security and law enforcement arrived swiftly, arresting key figures and restoring order. But the disappearance remained a chilling mystery. Was it a calculated escape, an accident, or something more sinister? The unanswered question hung in the air, leaving an unsettling mark on the scene. By the time the rain had stopped and the chaos subsided, the parking lot was left scarred with dents, scratches, and ruined merchandise. Witnesses recounted the events in disbelief, realizing that what had begun as petty disputes over spaces had transformed into a saga of obsession, strategy, and danger. The final showdown had ended, but the story lingered, a stark reminder that ordinary places could become arenas for extraordinary conflict, and that in the battle for dominance not every outcome is predictable, and not every rival returns to face the consequences.